Hi everybody, welcome back to my class for idioms with Professor Undertree. Today we're going to be going over idioms with appearance and background, so it's going to be lots of fun. Here we go. And the very first idiom that we're going to be talking about is one of my favorites. It's rather a masculine idiom, and it's having a 5 o'clock shadow. And a 5 o'clock shadow actually has nothing to do with the actual time and o'clock, but rather it has to do with the fact that men's facial hair generally grows all day long, and it used to be when men would go to work for 9 to 5, they would get up in the morning in the business world, they would get up in the morning and they would shave before they went to work because facial hair in the business world generally wasn't that common like it is today. So they would shave and they would have a clean shaven look. In fact, we have other idioms about being clean shaven. And so by 5 o'clock, their hair would have grown in just a tiny bit, and thus you would have a little bitty shadow. So a beginning of a beard is also called having a 5 o'clock shadow. Our example sentence for that would be, it is not a good idea to have a 5 o'clock shadow when going on a job interview because you want to be clean shaven. Or you could have a beard, but you don't want to have that in-between look like this particular gentleman does right here. The next idiom that we have is another personal favorite of mine, looks like one has seen a ghost. And this idiom means to appear shocked or scared. And we can remember that because when we're talking about the supernatural, ghosts are usually scary, so they make us feel scared. And so we can see here this little baby is rather scared. So an example sentence that we have for that is when Professor C reminded the students of the quiz, they looked like they had seen a ghost because they were shocked or scared. The next idiom that we have from chapter 3 is another one of my favorites, and it is looking like a drowned cat. Now, we don't actually drown cats, and I don't agree with drowning cats. Remember, it's an idiom, and the idea behind it is that when cats get wet, they usually look awful because cats don't like to get wet. Generally, they don't like water. It means you're being very wet and disheveled or messy. You just look awful. And look at this cat. It is not a happy cat. And so an example sentence for that is, if you go out in the storm, you will end up looking like a drowned cat. So this is a really practical idiom, especially if you live anywhere where there is water. We don't usually use it for snow in the winter, but absolutely if it's raining, you could use drowned cat. The next slide that we have is an interesting one. One of the reasons I like this idiom so much is because we use it in the Midwest where I'm from Oklahoma, and the idiom is, like butter wouldn't melt in the mouth. You might not hear it very much in California, but it's a fun kind of idiom. Butter actually melts, if you think about it, in the heat. It melts in the stove or on the counter or in the sunshine, but it doesn't melt in the refrigerator where it's cool. And the idea behind this is a person is very cool or calm and acting like they've done nothing wrong, even though they have done something wrong and they're actually guilty. So you use like butter wouldn't melt in the mouth when the person has actually done something wrong, but they act very innocent and they're very cool about it. So for example, she looked like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, saying it wasn't her fault, but I still knew she was lying. The next idiom is one that you've probably heard of before, and it's called keeping up appearances. We have another one similar, keeping up with the Joneses. It's the same kind of idea, in that we are acting as if things are good, even if when they're not, or we're trying to keep up with the appearances of things being good. The example for that would be, my brother bought a new car to keep up appearances, even though he just lost his job. Keeping up appearances doesn't have to be regarding possessions. Sometimes we keep up appearances in relationships as well. We act like everything is okay, even when it's not. A similar idiom to appearances is the next one, looking the part.
Looking the part is being dressed or styled appropriately, whatever the part may be. So if you want to be a policeman, you look the part, or if you want to be a teacher, you look the part. And an example for that would be, looking the part will help you get the job you want. A similar idiom, which isn't in our book, is fake it until you make it. That is, look the part that you want to have so that you can, in fact, have that part in real life. Another idiom that we have is being a pillar of the community. What that means is being an important or respected person, because if we think about it, a pillar is something that holds up the roof, or it holds up the building, so it holds up the entire community. An example sentence of that could be, doctors are considered pillars of the community. Another slide that we have is less than an idiom and more like a saying, in that not having two pennies to rub together. And this is kind of fun if you think about it. If you have two pennies, where would they be rubbing together? They would probably be in your pocket, because they would be in your pocket or your handbag, and they would be rubbing side by side. So if you don't have two pennies rubbing together, then you are really poor, because you don't even have two pennies. An example sentence for that would be, when I first got married, I didn't have two pennies to rub together, because I was in fact pretty poor when I first got married.
All right, well now let's review the idioms we've talked about. We had have a 5 o'clock shadow, looks like you've seen a ghost, look like a drowned cat, like butter wouldn't melt in your mouth, keep up appearances, look the part, be a pillar of the community, and not have two pennies to rub together. Aren't those fun?
And in the blink of an eye, another idiom that means really quickly, we are finished. I enjoyed being here with you today. I hope you learned some idioms. If you want to like this video, let your friends know about it. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can do that too. I hope to see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.